Hey everybody, welcome back. Devin, UG, Original Grognard, sitting here down in the Grognard's corner again, and we're going to be starting our solitaire playthrough of Conquistador, Avalon Hill's remake of SPI's magazine game. That became a flat box game, that became a bookcase game, that GMT is going to reissue as another game. Yeah, I kind of like how that goes. So what I went ahead and did, first off I want to give a quick shout out to Carlos and Joseph, and I swear to God I need to start writing this shit down. A couple guys pointed out that there were differences between the SPI and the Avalon Hill version, and absolutely correct. There were differences. In my opinion, they're not that major. A lot of the differences in the issues can be cleared up just by reading the general article that was released. I think it was. I want to say 15.2, but it's not 15.2. I think it was 25.2 or 21.2. I'll try to remember to post the link to the PDF that actually has the Conquistador, the expanded rules, the errata, the extra nations that you can play, and a whole bunch of good stuff for it. More counters. They give the French missionaries, and there's fur trading, a whole bunch of other really cool stuff in there. One of the big things that was pointed out is that the naval attrition table and land attrition table are kind of reversed from the SPI version. So basically, you're taking a look at the land attrition table. Die roll of 1 would be a C, and then nothing, everything else would be nothing. On attrition of 2, one is a colonist, 2 is a soldier. Well, in the SPI version, 6 would be a colonist. 5 would be the soldier, 6 would be, so on and so forth. So it just kind of flipped the tables around. My opinion, not that big a deal. I mean, it's still the same odds regardless. If you're rolling on the 1 table, it's still a 1 in 6 chance of losing a colonist. Who cares if you're rolling a 1, if you're rolling a 6? The only thing comes into play is that the rule book says that the Conquistador gives you a -1 on the dice roll, which is kind of a holdover from the SPI rules. When this table was the same way, it actually should be a +1 under the Avalon Hill rules, because they kind of flipped that around. Again, not that big a deal in my opinion, so we're just going to leave it like that, and I'm just going to have to remember that the Conquistador is a +1 on the dice roll for attrition, land attrition, not a -1. Also went ahead and placed out the potential treasure cities, and I just kind of rolled them up randomly. I went on the net and used a dice roll generator, and there's 25 areas, and it's just like, all right, give me 6 locations, no duplicates. Chichen Itza did end up. Well, not Chichen Itza, but the Mayan Empire did end up being a potential treasure city, so we went ahead and put that in Chichen Itza. Didn't get kind of got some odd results in South America. Venezuela, yeah, all right, we'll put that at the bay here. Brazil along the coast, and the Amazon, probably one of the least populated places on the face of the earth. I went ahead and put it right near the 3 gold mines for if there was any type of sustainable large empire in the Amazon, probably be really close to these 3 gold mines. Kind of like how historically the Incan Empire of Cusco, not being too far, kind of in between their 2 major gold mines. And then North America got a bunch. Norumbega, they ended up having a potential treasure city. I forgot the word there for a moment. It's like, what's their treasures? Conch shell, or not conch shells, but oyster shells and pearls. Hey, always possible. Up here by the Great Lakes. My Canadian followers are going to smack me. Saganway. So put that on the gold mine. Midwest Plateau. Okay, yeah, kind of down in Texas. So I went ahead and put that kind of by the gold mine there. And Sonora with California. We all know the gold mines. California, very rich area. So, kind of a no-brainer there. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to go over before we actually start playing. In the 2, 3, and 4 player games, Spain starts off with some extra goodies. They already start with 1 colonist on the board. They start with 1 caravel. However, the solitaire rules do not say anything about that. And since it is a specific special rule in the 2, 3, and 4 player game, I'm going to assume that Spain does not get that in the solitaire version. So we're not going to go ahead and play with that. Also, really, the entire game, the solitaire game, comes down to, you know, go as long as you can. If you get 4,500 victory points, yeah, you win the game. I'm really not going to keep track of victory points. I don't care. I just want to see how long I can last. And, you know, the more challenge for me is to just try this game for the first time, see how it goes. And like I said, I could possibly crash and burn by turn 4. Really, the only how the real difference, but how the solitaire system works is that every turn when I roll for random events during the random events phase, there's the potential that one of the other nations, France, England, Portugal, could occupy an area, and if it basically comes down to if I roll a monarch change for my own nationality, and what's the other one? Or the first of the random events, then I roll to see who is going to be founding the colony and where they found the colony at. Now, each nation, you know, has their own charts. Let's go ahead and look right here. So, you know, it kind of goes with historical. So you're probably not going to be seeing Portugal up in the Northeast or in Canada. And same way with England, you're not going to be seeing them down at, you know, the Rio de Plata or, you know, the Amazon. So you roll for where they are. Basically what they do is they then occupy the territory with, and they completely wipe out the native influence there. And it's called a European influence. And it works like a native influence. It's a European influence of 5. And so basically what I'll do is whatever area they decide to pop in, I'll just pull out like 5 colonists and stick them in there, and that'll represent the 5, you know, the European, what is it called? European influence? What is it exactly called? Not just European level. And I can attack them with my own soldiers, but I think the combat is a little bit different because I'm fighting rank and file warfare against other similar nations instead of, you know, Bronze Age natives. So the combat's going to work a little bit differently. Also means I don't have to worry about my ships being intercepted. I don't have to worry about me being attacked, because if they try to move into an area I'm already in, they roll for someplace else. You know, it really is really forgiving to the solitaire player. Like I said, 4,500 victory points is a lot of victory points to try to get to win the game, as I make the air quotes, win the game. And like I said, I'm not going to worry about that. This is just me going to be exploring, colonizing, and doing my thing. Again, I want to reiterate, you probably don't want to watch the video if you're trying to really hardcore learn the rules. I don't play that way. This is not a how to play. This is a watch the idiot roll dice and make mistakes type of video, which most of my videos are. But hey, that's the charm and my appeal. So, yeah, I'll get most things right. I'll make a mistake here and there. So, I mean, it's kind of like when I did my upfront series of videos. It's like I was making 2 or 3 mistakes every video, and I were getting people, oh, this is great. It really taught me how to play. And I'm thinking to myself, how? Because I am messing up. So, were the rules written that poorly that people's grasp of the game is so bad that my video is helping people how to play? It's like, ew, that's scary, because I don't think I have a very good grasp of these rules. It's the same thing with Patton's Best. It's like someone shot me an email and said, you know, I'd had Patton's Best for years. I never could really understand it, but I watched your video. I was able to pull it out and actually start playing it for the first time. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's great. I'm glad you're able to, but I'm not sure I'm the one you should be watching. Anyways, enough pontificating and my own self-narcissism. So we're going to go ahead and start. We're actually going to follow the sequence of play. I can't shift the camera over there. I'm trying a new camera setup. So I can't really shift the camera over there to zoom in for you to be able to see it just the way how I'm sitting and where the camera's pointing. I mean, I can point it over there and it's right there, but I wouldn't be able to zoom in on it really well. So I just want to go ahead and focus the camera because, I mean, like I said, my main goal is we're going to start off in the Caribbean, move up into Florida, and then just kind of start working our way across. We'll see what happens. So, all right, council phase, sequence of play, segment A. Random events segment. Okay, this is where you're rolling. Rolling random events is kind of cool because you roll 2 dice. The first one is your monarch's rating. Will also, well, it's the tax rating. It's your taxes and your colonists, and the second dice roll will give you your random event depending on what the first dice roll was. It's kind of a grid. I don't think I'm going to be able to get in. Yeah, probably not going to see that real well. But basically, the first number just depicts the row, and then that'll determine your taxes depending on what your colonist rating is, or your monarch rating is. Also, the number of colonists. So that's your row, and then the second dice roll is the column. So if you roll a 3, you take the 3 column, look over, check what your monarch rating is for how much cash you get, how many colonists you get this turn, and then the second dice roll, you do the aisle to see what the actual random event is. So, if that made sense. All right. Okay. So we're going to go black with the first dice and blue is the second dice. Okay, so we got a 32. I'll go ahead and put these dice over here to remind me just in case. So 32, 3, my monarch rating is an A, so that gives me an additional 25 ducats. So 9, 42, 45, which is good. It also gives me 4 colonists, so let me go ahead and just pull the colonists out right now. The colonists and soldiers can be used like change. I mean, you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. I'll just kind of show you what the. So you've got, that's 5 colonists. That's, 1 soldier, 2 colonists, 1 soldier, so on and so forth. So, and you can use them like change. So I get 4 colonists. So let's just go ahead and grab 4 colonists. I probably should have said this last video, but yeah, the only way you can get colonists is by the random dice roll at the beginning. You don't get any, you can't use your ducats to buy colonists. Let's see if I can find another 1 colonist. Probably should have separated these out a little bit. But I'm sure once I get a couple turns under my belt. There we go. So, what we're going to do is take our 4 colonists and put them in Spain, in port, like so. And then our random event is 3 by the 2 is 4. Costly European war drains treasury. Crap. That doesn't sound good. Alright, so we go to the handy dandy rulebook. We look under what the random effects are. Reduce the national treasury by 50 ducats or reduce it to 0 if it contains less than 50 ducats. Alright. So that's going to bring us back down to 1. Actually, did I do that wrong? Oh, yeah, I had 190. Started off with 1. Oh, should have only gotten 25. 125, not 145. So dropping by 50 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. 170. Yeah, okay. Or 175. All right, so I got 175 ducats to play with. Hope I did that math right. I was never very good at math to begin with. So I'm trying to do it on the fly while I'm trying to keep conversation going, sometimes tends to throw me. All right, initiative determination segment, we don't have to worry about that. Planning segment, all right, so it's the first turn, so we take our counters off from the first turn space, because we put all your navigators, conquistadors, everything on the turn track, so you know when they come out. So I know I'm going to have Columbus for 2 turns, and I'm going to have my Conquistador. Where's that? Tiny. I'm actually going to have to put it here so I can actually see it. I can't even see that. All right. 2 tiny print for these old eyes to see. Now, yeah, okay, so now it's the planning segment. Okay, so I am going to have to... What do I want to do? Okay, I got 4 colonists, and there's really 2 places in the Caribbean I want to go. I want to land on both of those mines right there, so I can try to find them to start bringing them in. So that's going to require landing 2 colonies. So each Spanish colony requires a missionary. And so Spain has a couple of these missionaries that we pull out. Keep face down until they actually land. So basically, the missionaries can be Hellfire and Brimstone missionaries or Peace and Loving missionaries. Hellfire and Brimstone missionaries tend to piss off the natives and help you in combat, whereas peaceful missionaries keep the natives subdued, and I think they hurt you in combat. So anyways, so my plan is I'm going to land 2 colonists, or I'm going to have 2 expeditions. I'm going to settle 2 colonies. So let's go ahead and stack both of those together. Now, to land colonists, to form a settlement, I need to have navigator, explorer, expedition leader, whatever you want to call it. I don't think conquistadors can work for that. So, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, so 1 or 2. I think I can do. Okay, so yeah, they're going to have to all be 1 stack. I'm going to have to drop them off and then move. Okay, I'll kind of show what I'm getting to eventually. All right, so we need at least. Okay, so we've got 4 colonists. So I'm going to need at least 4 points worth of shipping to get the colonists over there, and I want to get. I'm gonna need to send some soldiers with them. So let me go ahead. Let me buy 4 soldiers, and I don't know if this is a good thing to do or a bad thing to do, but I'm gonna want 2 soldiers with each settlement. All right, so this is where we're gonna start spending. Whoops. Oops, if I don't put the soldiers back in the pile after I grab them. So there's 2 soldiers there. Could grab a 2 soldier chit, but I have a feeling I'm going to be losing some, and I'll just be having to make a change in the future. So 2 more soldiers. Okay. So we've got 4 soldiers and 4 settlers. That's going to require 8 points worth of shipping. Now, I can either buy carracks or caravels, because I can't buy galleons until turn 8. Carracks can carry 1, caravels can carry 2. Caravels cost 4, carracks cost 8, and maintenance on a caravel is 1, where maintenance on a carrack is 2. So I need, so I need 8 points of shipping. Let me get. Okay, and since I could possibly lose ships, and when you lose ships, you lose what's on them, let me go for. Let's go for 4 caravels. Oops. Ow! Okay, maybe this new camera setup's not going to work out too well. 1, 2. Should have really separated these out. But yeah, basically I'm going to get 4 caravels and 2 carracks, and that's going to be my 8 capacity. I need to find 2 more carracks. Dead air. All right. So what we're gonna do is, I think we're gonna put 1 soldier, 1 colonist, and 1 of the carracks, and 1 soldier and 1 colonist in the other carrack, and then 1 soldier and 1 colonist in each of the 4 caravels. All right. And then, just to mix things up a little bit, we're going to have Columbus on 1 of the caravels, and my Conquistador on 1 of the caravels. All right, so now we're going to have to pay for all this. And so basically it was 4 caravels, 2 carracks, and oh, that's 4 times 4 is 16, 10, 15, 16, and then 16 for the caravel, 10. So I'm not going to bother writing all my purchases down. I'm just going to go use the track to keep track of all my purchases. And then I bought the 4 soldiers, and the soldiers were 4 each. So that's another 16. We're starting to lose funds really quick. Now I got to pay for the bounds, the movement to get there. All right, so the Caribbean, go ahead and shift the camera back over. The Caribbean is 3 bounds, so it's going to be 3 bounds to get there, 3 bounds to get back. So that's going to be 6 bounds right off the top, and each bound is 2 points, so that's going to be another 12 ducats I'm spending. And I want to spend 1 more bound to move around inside the Caribbean, and I'll kind of get to why I'm doing the extra bound. Oh, yeah, one of the things I forgot to mention. Last video I kind of mentioned, if you overspend your bounds, so basically if you pay for 6 bounds but you end up moving 7 bounds, during the naval attrition table you automatically roll on the 9+ table. So you don't want to go over. I mean, if you're already over, if you're already going to be moving 9 bounds, screw it, don't go for it. But since we're moving 6 bounds to get out there, then I want a 7th bound to move around in there. I'll be rolling on the 7 attrition table rather than the 9 attrition table, or rather than the 9+. All right, so that's basically the planning segment. So now we have transoceanic naval movement segment, which means my troops or my ships are going to move to where I want to. So I paid for the 3 bounds to get them to the Caribbean. So I'm just... So we're actually going to land the first group of guys here. And I'm not going to stack everybody there just because it's going to be such a huge stack. Let's see. So I get there and I land there. I don't think I need to pay. I think the first initial landing is part of one of the bounds that I pay for. So what we want to do is we want to land. We want 2 soldiers and 2 colonists there. And I'm going to leave the Conquistador there. So that'll be basically my first initial, my transoceanic of getting there. And does it happen during that or during the oceanic? I gotta check that real quick. Naval movement. Return from the port, transfer. Say 2 per bound. Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, okay, so... Yes, I'm fairly certain that I land those guys as part of my as my transoceanic naval movement. I land those guys. And if I'm doing it wrong, I'm sure someone will point out. Now, the next step is hemispheric naval movement segment. Now, this is why I paid for that extra bound, so I can move extra spaces inside the area. So I paid for an extra bound, which gives me 8 movement points. So basically, everybody is all right here. They went ahead and they dumped those guys off. So we're going to continue moving the fleet with the rest of the colonists and settlers. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to land the second expedition, which is basically going to be the other 2 colonists and the other 2 soldiers. And Columbus is going to be staying with the ships. So I'm just going to keep him right there. And we know I'm not going to, since I know I'm going to take attrition, I'm not going to bother, condensing all the ships down, but just know that I've got 4 caravels and 2 carracks in there. And we're getting to the 25-minute mark, so I'll be right back. All right, so we're back, and we've got our one expedition landed 2 separate colonies or settlements in the Caribbean. I will point out, the General Magazine does go in to say that the Caribbean really should be broken up a little bit more than it should. It's got a native influence of 3, but really what happens on Cuba is different than what happens on the other major islands, and so they suggest to give a native influence of 3 on all 4 of the major islands, or actually technically 5, or at least they break it up a little bit differently. I'm not going with that. We're just going to make the Caribbean all one, since I'm not playing with the rules from the General Magazine, but it is an optional rule that they do suggest using for those of you who may be a little bit confused about it. Okay, so anyways, so hemispheric naval movement segment over. Naval attrition segment. Okay, so this is where we roll naval attrition. And let's make sure there's no modifiers for that. I think it's just a straight up roll on the naval attrition. I don't think. Okay, naval combat. Nope, no naval combat. Naval attrition. Okay, each expedition must check for attrition at the end of each naval phase, not after each segment, to check for attrition for a given segment. The player totals the number of bounds traveled by the expedition in that place. He then throws the dice and cross-references it with the number of bounds traveled in the naval attrition, yada, yada, yada. The result is the unit or units to be removed, either units from ships or the ships themselves. Attrition affects any units that begin the naval phase with the expedition, not just the units remaining on the ships at the end of the phase. All right, so that's kind of important. You kind of got to remember and keep track of, all right, what was on what ships, which carracks had which caravels, yada, yada, yada. So technically, the naval attrition segment is at the end of the segment, but the effects are for whatever was on the ships at the beginning of the segment. So what you do is you go ahead and check your naval attrition number. Oh, and I forgot to check to see if there's any modifier. Don't believe there's any modifiers for naval. Yeah, there's no modifiers. All right, so we went 7 bounds. That's what we paid for. So we're rolling on the 7 column. And we got a 3, which is a CS, which is 1 colonist and 1 soldier. So we didn't lose any ships, but we did lose a colonist and a soldier. So let's take 1 colonist and 1 soldier off this settlement here and be done with it. Which is kind of good because it saves us having to pay their maintenance fees. That's a lot of people. 25% of our people died on the way over. I think that's a little bit high. Okay, so anyways, land segment. Next, we're going into the land segment. And the first thing we do is the gold segment. Well, we're sitting on 2 gold mines. Problem is, we don't know if those gold mines are actually there. So we actually have to check to see if we find the gold mines. Okay. Okay, Caribbean gold is discovered on a roll of 2 through 8. Okay. So 2d6, so let's roll for the first one. This one here, we find it on a 2 through 8. And that's an 8, so we find it. And the second mine is a 6, so we find that one as well. There are no counters to indicate found gold mine. It just is or it isn't. Or they can be abandoned and they can be depleted, but they don't have a counter for actually discovered. You just kind of have to remember. I'm the only one playing. I'm in the Caribbean. I think I'll remember that I found both of those mines. So we found both of those mines. Now what does that mean? Yay! Okay. Caribbean mines produce 15 ducats of gold per game turn. And then they become depleted on a roll of 2 through 5. Now when do you roll for depletion? X that is mined for gold, may not be used to collect resources. Yep. In order for a mine to be worked, for gold to be produced, at least one colonist must be present on the mine. Hex at the beginning of the gold segment. Number of colonists present has no bearing. Yeah, I think it's... When do I roll depletion? I actually thought this was going to be faster. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, yeah, at the end of each gold segment, after production has been taken from all working mines, player rolls 2 dice for each working mine on a 2 or a 3. Okay, so we know that Caribbean mines produce 15 ducats worth. And we actually have counters. Go ahead and stick 15 ducats worth on both of them. And now you got to roll for depletion. Depletes on a 2 or a 3. So let's go ahead and roll for the first one. That's a 8, so we can keep working it. The second one is a 6, so we can keep working it. All right. Land movement and combat segment. Now, if I wanted to move my guys anywhere, then yeah, that's what I would be doing. Oh, my missionaries. Crap, forgot about my missionaries. Go ahead and put my mercenaries. First one down here. He's a +3. Oh, good God. He's a real hellfire and brimstone. And the other one is a -3. Okay, so we've got a +3. Actually, I think it's only one missionary. I only need one missionary per area. Yeah, so I have 2 locations. Is it? Oh, I better check that. Is it 1 missionary per settlement or 1 missionary per area? Let's see. Missionaries. Each area in which Spain has either colonist or soldier detachment and which the native level is at least 1 must contain a missionary. Spain may not land any units in areas previously unoccupied by them which has a native level of 1 or higher unless those units are accompanied by a missionary. Missionaries are transported from Europe like any others. Yada, 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 yada. Yep. So I just need 1 per area, so we'll go ahead and put the -3 back. Okay, where does he want to... Yeah, we'll go ahead and keep him there. So he's going to be there. Okay, land combat. Do I really want to try to see if I piss off the natives? Nah, you know what? Let's try to be peaceful with the natives right now. So native combat. Okay, so that land movement combat segment, none. Native combat segment, none. I'm not attacking the natives. Native uprising. Now, this is where we could be fighting the natives regardless. The general rules do have rules for forming alliances with the natives and trying to make them peaceful to reduce their native influence number rather than going to war with them. Obviously, the English and the French did that a lot in the Northeast, with the Algonquin tribes and Mohican tribes and whatever the native coalition in the area was. Spain, Portugal kind of kept peace with the natives in there, but yeah, Spain had no problem wiping out the heathens. That is in the general magazine, so that's kind of an alternative rule. Again, I'm not playing with the general magazine, so we want to reduce the native. We're going to be wiping them out through combat, but we're not doing that. Okay, so native uprising segment. First, you have to even roll to see if there is an uprising. And basically have this. If there are natives in the area, the number of natives is added to the number of colonists of the player in the area. The rating of one missionary in the area is added or subtracted from this total, and from this total is subtracted the number of soldier detachments in the area. The result is the uprising level. Now roll a dice. If the result is lower than the uprising level, the player must proceed to the native uprising combat table, which is right here. So basically, that's what that's saying is take the native influence level. We've got 3. Add to it the number of colonists I have. I've got 3 colonists there, so that's a 6. Now add in the missionary level, the +3, because he's a hellfire and brimstone trying to convert all the heathens, which is pissing off the natives. Now I'm looking at a 9. Subtract the number of soldiers I have in the area. I have 3 soldiers in the area. It is a 6. If I roll under it, there's a native uprising. Maybe I should have gone to war with the natives early. But if I roll a 6, all is good. Yeah, it's a 2. There's an uprising. Alrighty. It was that hellfire and brimstone priest, I tell you. Alright, native uprising. Soldier detachments in the area. I've got 3 soldier detachments in the area. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make sure. I think my Conquistador gives me a +1 when I'm doing. Well, let me check to make sure for if the Conquistador is used in uprising. So on the sports, I swear it's going to go quicker as I get the specific rules down. Okay, land combat, land attrition. Where is natives? Natives. Okay. Okay, if a native uprising has taken place, the player rolls the dice again to determine its outcome using the native uprising CRT. The player cross-references the roll with the number of soldier detachments in the area. The result is the number of units eliminated in the area. The player may remove either colonists or soldier detachments or a combination of the two. If the result is all, then all in the area must be removed. A missionary is eliminated with asterisk result or all. And let's see, let's look for specifically for. So, according to that, the Conquistador and the missionary do not add, but let's look specifically. Oh, that's attrition rolls. Okay, when engaging in combat with the natives. See, that's land combat. That's not native uprise. Okay, so native uprise. When engaging in combat against natives, the Spanish player subtracts 1 from the dice roll for each Conquistador and a missionary with a positive conversion rating present in the area, but no more than 3 may be ever subtracted from the roll. Does attrition count as land combat? Or, I mean, does combat against natives count as land combat? You would think it would. Yeah, that's land combat. Okay, it specifically says under the land combat segment, the Conquistador and the missionary adds the roll. However, in the uprising, it doesn't specifically say anything about the Conquistador. Oh no, here we go. Oh no, that's for just determining if the uprising, if native has taken place. Yeah, I'm going to say that it is not a land combat, so I don't get to add or subtract in my missionary or my Conquistador. Again, we have 3 soldiers in the area. Roll the dice. What do we get? We get a 5, which is a S, which is a soldier. 1 detachment of soldiers eliminated. No loss in native level. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take the other soldier away from the colony that has, or the settlement that has 2 of them. Okay, simple and quick and easy. All right, that was the native uprising segment. Now we have land attrition, which is losing more. All right, so how you do land attrition? Okay, you take the attrition level of the area that you're in. In the Caribbean, the attrition level is a 2. You modify it for the terrain they're in, which is forest jungle, which is a +1, and then a -1 for them being along the coastline. So basically, forest and jungle, I think it's -1 for the forest and jungle. Let me check that real quick. See, that isn't printed on the table or on the board where it should be. Okay. Land attrition, land attrition, land attrition. Sorry it's taking so long. Okay, land attrition. Forest jungle adds 1 to the attrition level. Rough adds 2. Coastal subtracts 1. All right, so... And we have to roll for each settlement? Checks for each hex in which he has land units. All right, so +1 for the jungle, -1 for being on the coastline for basically both of them. And we're looking at 2. The Conquistador, since I do have the Conquistador, will modify this dice roll because the Conquistador is with that one. So that'll be a +1 to the dice roll. So we're looking at the land attrition table, column 2. Roll for the first one. We have a 5, which is nothing, so no land attrition. And for the other one, we get a +1 to the dice roll because of the Conquistador. It's a 3, +1 is a 4, no attrition. So, okay, thankfully, finally, we get through a phase without having attrition. Oh, God. All right, now, resource segment. This is when you determine your resources from your settlers. Now, if a settler works a mine, he can't contribute resources at all, period. Just doesn't happen. So we've got 1 colonist left here, I believe. Yeah, we got 1 colonist left there. So he is going to be working the mine, so he doesn't bring any other resources in. Over here is the same thing. Oh, no, we have 2 colonists. We have got 1 colonist working the mine, so he's not going to provide anything. However, the other one isn't working the mine, so he's going to produce 1 because that's his base. Multiply it by the R2, so he's going to give Spain 2 ducats. Hey, we're actually making a little bit more money back. That's resources. Real quick, simple, easy. Final naval phase, transoceanic movement segment. Oh, when does... Oh, okay, I gotta find out when I load my gold up. Gold and treasure. Okay. Okay, textiles may not be used. Treasure and looting, looting, looting. Transportation. Okay, yeah. If a mine or treasure city hex is inland, the gold or treasure must first be transported overland to a friendly port. May be transported overland by a soldier detachment. Once the gold or treasure has reached a friendly port, it may be loaded in the resource segment aboard a ship or galleon. All right, so during the resource segment, when I was collecting the gold for my settlers, these guys could not load up the gold because I don't have any ships left there. I moved the entire fleet over to here. Now these guys will be able, during the resource segment, to load up the gold onto the ships for transport back to Spain. And we're going to go ahead and now a caravel. How much can a caravel hold? Let's see. Caravel can hold 5, a carrack can hold 25. So we're going to put all 15 in one of the carracks and hope it doesn't sink. Okay, so transoceanic naval segment. We're going to move the fleet. We paid for the bounds. We're going to move the entire fleet back to Spain. There's no reason to keep them there. So the entire force goes back. And so like so. Now, we've got another naval attrition segment. Okay, so that's a good question. Is it total bounds? Was I rolling too high for the bounds in the first place? Because the first... Okay, number of bounds. I think I may have done attrition a little bit wrong. Naval attrition. Each naval phase. Oh, yeah, okay. The player total is the number of bounds traveled by the expedition in that phase. All right, so when I was actually rolling on the 7 the first time, it actually should have just been on the 4 column. I'm not going to retcon that. I lost the people, and that would have affected the natives. So, yeah, I'm not going to retcon it, but I'll just have to remember it for the future. So it's how many bounds they move in that segment. They moved 3 to get there, plus the extra 1 to move around in it, so that would have only been 4 bounds. Now we're moving the fleet back to Spain, which is, since they're coming from the Caribbean, it's only 3 bounds, so I only have to roll attrition for the 3. And it's really only a 1 or a 2 that's going to be in effect. 4, which is going to be nothing. All right, so we don't have to worry about losing any ships on that. Discovery credit phase. This is where you count up all the discoveries. I would have gotten, well, had we been playing and had I been the first initiative player, been the first person to land in the Caribbean. What is the Caribbean? Okay, yeah, the Caribbean wouldn't have given me anything. It's only North America, mainland, South America, excluding Panama, Central America, Sonora to Panama. Panama. Good God, I can speak, honestly. Well, it could have been Central America. I think it would have been... Yeah, North America is mainland hex, but well, I would have... Okay, so we'll say I'd have gotten Central America, which would have been 35 victory points for discovering Central America. Great Lakes, Rio de Plata, Amazon, circumventing. So yeah, that would have given me 35 victory points. Not really worried about the victory points. We're just kind of, playing to see how far we can get. Treasury segment. All right, treasury segment, I believe... That's when any of my ships that made it back with gold unload it. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to guess that the treasury segment, because I'm not seeing anything in the rules right now, and I've had too much quiet time. I'll check that when the video's over. Treasury segment would be, all right, so we got the 15 gold back from working that one mine. Yay! We made 15 ducats. So we're still running at a deficit. And we haven't paid maintenance fees yet. All right, so... Yeah, now we've got maintenance. Now we have to pay maintenance for everything. All right, so let's start off. It doesn't matter where it's at. We got to pay maintenance for it. All right, for our ships, we got 4 carracks, 2 caravels. So that's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maintenance for the ships. The missionary is 1 ducat. Conquistadors are nothing. Soldier detachments are 1 each, and I believe I've got 3 soldier detachments left. No, I've got 2 soldier detachments left. So that's 2 ducats. Each colonist is 2, and I've got 1, 2, 3 colonists. So there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, we're down to 95 ducats. We started off the turn with 190. We ended up the turn with 95. Of course, we did lose 50 from the war, so... Yeah, that doesn't make things any better. We still lost like 45 gold last turn. This is why it's kind of a brutal game. Anyways, yeah, so that's it. That's basically a turn. Hope I didn't confuse people too much with it. We're going to be going into the second turn next. A few things I do want to read up on, just to make sure I've got a couple things firm in my mind that have cropped up from this playthrough, and hopefully next turn will go much quicker, much easier. And I hope everybody enjoyed. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms in the comment section. I'll see everybody next time. See ya!